Hello, everybody. We are live. We are live. We are live. Savage Patriots is back with another one. And this time we're going to be talking about uh, Sleepy Sloppy Joe and
Mm,
the Iran debacle and possibly their role in a war with Iran
yeah.
of the nuclear type. Um, but we'll break everything down and see what the possibilities are. Because I think we might be onto something, but we'll find out here in a bit. We'll be right back. Now,
Just there you go.
the question is, do you believe that Iran will have a part in this war thing going? I mean, okay, they have a part already because they did fund Hamas. I don't care what anybody tells you. They've been friends with Hamas for forever. They've been
Yeah.
funding Hamas for forever. It's nothing new. There's not groundbreaking information. Uh, it's not going to be far fetched for them to use the money we gave them to fund Hamas either. They don't care about our money, but they love it.
Hmm.
Um, so the question then remains whether or not Iran is going to bite the hand that fed them. I mean, they already have because they've funded Hamas,
Yeah.
but they can quantify that as their own personal beef with Israel. They don't have to
Hmm.
throw that back to America. However, um, you can't negate the fact that America is talking out of both sides of its butt. I can't say its mouth because it's not verbal. It's quite a lot of diarrhea. Where you're against
Verbalize.
terrorism, but you're a terrorist by your own um, methods of operation.
Hmm.
You are against terrorism, but you fund terrorists. And you're against
Multiple
terrorism, but
times.
you actually create the vacuum for terrorists to infiltrate and inculcate
Yeah.
certain regions.
Yeah.
So the question then remains whether or not you think Iran is going to fight in this.
I don't think initially. I think Iran is going to support by proxy.
Hmm.
Now, I honestly think in the beginning, I think America is going to do what they always do, and they're going to poke that bear in some way, shape, or form.
Okay.
They'll either do an Operation Northwood type of deal to where they blame it on Iran to get the backing of the people to attack Iran. I don't think
Yeah.
Iran is going to jump into the fight initially. I think we're going to do something to Iran to antagonate them to get into that fight.
We already are. I mean, they're already claiming that
Antagonize.
they're
I was gonna
attacking
say.
U.S.
Hmm.
assets in the Middle East. So here, this is what the White House is saying.
They say
The White
something.
House says Iran is actively facilitating some attacks on U.S. military bases, and guess where those bases are?
I wouldn't be able to guess that at all.
It would be in Iraq and
Oh,
Syria.
oh.
Oh, yeah.
So riddle me this: when did we start putting assets into Syria with a country we weren't at war with?
I
It's
don't
like,
know. I don't
yeah,
know.
it's like
Yeah.
when was that? When
When
did we go into Syria and start setting up bases?
when did we start believing anything the White House puts out?
Right?
Yeah,
It's like
I personally, if they put it out, they put it out. I personally don't believe it. I don't
yeah,
believe that they're actively doing anything. This is what I'm talking about earlier, how they're going to poke the bear, some Operation Northwood stuff, and they're going to say, look, Iran did this. Look, Iran did that in Iraq
yeah,
and Syria to get us to go after Iran. Because
yeah.
since we already have troops over there to be an easy push through Iraq, they are going to do this on purpose. They're going to plan something big, man, and they're going to say Iran did it.
Yeah. And here's the big thing. So the White House spokesman John Kirby said that there has been an uptick in attacks over the last week and especially over the last few days, but the U.S. would not allow these threats to its interest in the region to go unchallenged.
Of course.
Um.
Mm.
Okay. Consider me a newbie to the whole um war thing. Okay.
Hmm.
Um. Okay. I'm trying to figure the best way to say this. When did we um. And I'm gonna answer my own question because I know we covered this already. But how, how is it that we are at war with somebody, but still make a negotiation with them to fund the people that we're at war
Yeah.
with military stuff? I guess it's like going to the bully, knowing that the bully doesn't like you, and giving the bully brass knuckles, and then saying, "We're at war."
Yeah.
And then you don't have brass knuckles. You just gave them your best brass knuckles, and you get left with like some cloth ones. And then they start whap, whap, pap, 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 and you're like, "Why are you hitting me?" Like, And especially with that, where'd you get that from? Stupid, you gave me the brass knuckles. Like,
You gave them the
Remember,
stuff
you
that
remember
you.
that big pallet of money that Obama gave us?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. The
you
billions
gave
of
us
cash
all
that people forgot.
this money, and you funded our fight.
Yeah,
But I just don't buy it. I
yeah,
can't, man. My soul won't allow me to believe anything that's coming out of this government.
yeah. So
And
here,
it's going to be a push, a real big push here in the next few weeks before wintertime, I think, mid fall, late fall, I think
yeah,
that they're going to push this, and it's going to be something big that happens in Iraq or Syria or Afghanistan somewhere. They're going to have to do it in the Middle East. You
yeah.
may see it here, may not, but it's going to have to be there. Somebody's going to have to get hurt, so the America can say, "Hey, we're here. Let's just push across the border."
Yeah. So here's what they're saying is that he said the United States believe that these groups were supported by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard, and that the Iranian government, which has also been continuing support of Hamas and Hezbollah military groups. We know that this is John Kirby. We know that Iran is closely monitoring these events and in some cases actively facilitating these attacks and spurring on others who may want to exploit the conflict for their own good or for that of Iran. We are deeply concerned about the potential for any significant escalation of these attacks in the days ahead. And we know that Iran's goal is to maintain some level of deniability here, but we're not going to allow them to do that, Kirby said. We are
um,
also not going to allow them to threaten any of our interests in the region, go unchallenged.
okay. Remember I said I opened up this thing by saying they talk out of both sides of their behind.
Yeah,
You can't say that after giving those same people the ability to do what you say they're doing.
yeah,
It's not like you can just come out and say, "Oh, I condemn what they're doing. I don't even know how they managed to do this," and you had no hand in it, as opposed to, "I don't know how they're doing this," and you just
Hmm.
handed them all the means to do it. The pallet of cash, the 6 billion, and folks forget, or at least they may not forget. They may not know about this particular thing here. Okay, let's take a read. Let's took a read for us, shall we? Because
mm,
I think it's important for us to took a read. Um, how many of
Hmm.
y'all knew about this right here? Okay, I don't want to
Hmm.
mm,
subscribe to nothing. All right, now it says Biden's $90 billion bailout to Tehran. Uh, Rushing back to 2015 Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, also called the Iran nuclear deal, would be singular seismic event leading to the chaos and the stability of the Middle East. Remember, I told you we create the chaos and then go in and say we're the saviors,
right.
but we're not. U.S. President Joe Biden has inherited a relatively peaceful Middle East, not without its challenges, but one marked by historic peace agreements
Ooh,
between several
that aged
Arab
well.
countries and Israel after decades without movement on the recognition of Israel. I wonder how that happened. Who was that guy?
I
Who?
know.
Oh, I don't know.
Some white dude with orange-looking face. I
Yeah.
forget his
Yeah,
name.
yeah, yeah.
And look at the date. That's in 2021. It only took them 2 years to make the entire Middle East explode.
Uh, that's
Only 2
impressive.
years. That's impressive, man.
I think they're trying to beat a speed run. They're speed running the war, is what they're
Yeah.
doing.
They're speed running to Revelation so we can have the War of Armageddon.
They're not speed running in anything because Revelations is supposed to happen. So
Bruh.
that's
Well, yeah.
guaranteed. You ain't going to
Thank you,
stop it.
man.
They're trying to get everything on
You're
track
not
so
going to stop it.
quickly.
Yeah,
So
they know the Bible and they know what's supposed to happen. So what they're doing, they're trying to, let's hurry up.
they're facilitating it.
They're
It's
facilitating
it.
it. They know it's supposed to happen.
Conversely, through U.S. sanctions, I'm sure that's what you did, sanctions, and Iran's own ineptitude, the mismanagement of COVID-19. Oh, come on, people.
Oh, why is COVID-19
Really?
in there?
I don't know what that has to do with. Anyway, whatever.
Whatever.
Iran's economy has been left paralyzed and vulnerable. From a negotiating perspective, Biden has plenty of leverage. Does he? Does Biden have leverage?
No, he can barely put his underwear on.
Okay, so let's stop there for a second. What leverage does America have over Iran?
None.
You two have been in the military. Name one piece of leverage that America has over Iran.
Zero.
Sanctions, that's it.
They don't have anything because, I mean, what are they going to leverage with? They can't. What, their oil? No, they're not going to leverage that. What, money? They have enough money.
That's why Lindsey Graham's coming out here being the war hawk that he is, saying we're gonna bomb Iran's oil fields. We'll make sure they can never make money off oil again. And it's like, if you were really serious about that, you know what the U.S. should have done? I don't know, maybe once 9/11 happened was said, F the Middle East, we're going to pump so much oil that it'll be worthless and drive your economies into the ground. That's what we should have done. But no, instead we're pandering to the Middle East over and over again, especially to the Saudis. What we should have done after 9/11, like I said, is start pumping so much oil the Saudis become poor. That's what we should have done.
But we couldn't.
You can't. Oil doesn't run out.
But I'll tell you why we couldn't do that. Not
know
we the people. We couldn't do that because we were getting too much kickback from
Mhm.
getting our supply from them.
Yeah.
Now, here's the best part of all of this. The left has all these things about no one's an alien and everyone is equal and blah 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 blah. But yet still they put their backing behind people who do not believe that and in fact would end them if they had the chance.
Mhm.
You have an entire, I will call them a regime right now in the Biden administration. They have this entire regime that have all, and I mean every last one of them, and you can go check this if you want, have gotten money either from foreign entities, have tried to pass bills in order to get money from foreign entities, or have been overseas getting money from foreign entities and are now in charge of policymaking for America. When you look back at Obama's 8 years, he did more negotiations with Iran and other terrorist enabled countries than any other president before or since.
Mhm.
I got something for you.
It is amazing.
You should bring that up. So this is coming from the Foreign Affairs Committee. 5 times the Obama administration insisted cash was the only way to pay Iran. They paid $1.7 billion to Iran
Mhm.
before Trump came into office.
In the
So,
dead of night.
in the dead of night, right? Just pallets of cash straight to Iran. And now they want us to believe that they are the biggest adversary that we must take on. Now it's like, then why was Obama giving them pallets and pallets of cash
It's called dark money because it went in the dark at night.
Mhm.
to pay for these things? So you don't think maybe that some of that money that you paid Iran went into places like Hezbollah and Hamas to perpetrate attacks in the
No.
future?
And what they
No?
say, it was money that we owed them. I think that's
Yeah,
what
we owed them money
initially.
for weapons
Yeah.
deal or something like that. I
Yeah.
don't remember what the excuse was.
No, we know what it was for. We
Yeah, hostage payment. That's what it was.
yeah, we know what it was for.
Oh, okay. Let's run that rabbit hole all the way through to its ending. Okay.
Yep.
If they say that it was not for hostages, what hostages were they paying Iran for? Anybody seen them show up yet?
Yeah.
No, purple.
Normally, if it was a hostage, it'd be more than likely military, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody know who or what we got? Normally, they announce all that stuff, don't they?
Yeah, it's like a big deal. So they have
Huh.
a welcome home parade, and they welcome them back,
Huh.
and it's all over the news.
Okay.
Like I said,
Maybe-
I mean,
maybe
these
I'm wrong.
people are so full of crap that their lies aren't working anymore. And I was having this conversation with a family member. I was like, I don't see how people don't see it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get it. Like, if you still believe, there are people out there that still believe that we went to war with Iraq for weapons of mass destruction. That's already been proven false. There are
Everybody knows
people
that.
out there that still believe that 9/11 was done by a bunch of hijackers that took over planes and knocked down some buildings. Plus, Building 7 fell too. They still believe that. If you believe what our government is putting out about this war that they want to get into so bad,
Yeah,
you deserve whatever's coming. You deserve it.
nothing
Stop
says
believing them.
unity in Congress like a war with Iran. That's what it is. Just how like 9/11 and all of a sudden we were in Iraq. It's like all of this stuff is being played out the same way that
Mhm.
they got us into war with Iraq before. I understood why they did Afghanistan, even though it was still sketchy as hell how they wanted to do that too.
Mhm.
I understood it because of what happened. But Iraq was something completely different. And this is exactly the same thing. So Israel gets attacked. We understand who the perpetrators are. We know what they're doing. Why? Or is it now like it's the same thing? Afghanistan, Iraq. Now it's Israel, Iran. we're going after Iran. We really want this, but we're saying we're helping with this, and that's not what's happening. We're not really doing that. It's just an excuse. They've been wanting a war with Iran for 20 years.
And
They've been
China
trying to do this.
and Russia.
Yeah.
And if they can get all China, Russia, and Iran in the same place at the same time, America think that's going to be a win. It won't be a win.
And the media and everybody else is playing along, just like they did with Iraq. It's the same thing.
Do you guys remember? This is how, and for people who think we're just kind of lambasting people for no reason, let's go back to um, George Bush and Colin Powell for a minute.
Yeah.
When he was before the committee, Colin Powell blatantly said that there were weapons, and he had all these diagrams and nonsense about how they had. And when, if it was all said and done, he came back and said, well, we were working on the intel we had and blah, 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 blah. Only to find out, of course, that it was never any intel that there was weapons of mass destruction. They had put that out there in order to try and get, just like now, remember, they did this back in World War I.
Yep.
They had to create an angry American populace to get them behind the reasons for going to war. They had to find a way to drag Americans to say, oh, yeah, let's go get them. And the only way to do that is to say, if they can do that to their people, imagine what they have and they can do to others.
Yeah, I got that clip up if you want to remind everybody, because it's been a bit. It's been a minute. 20 years now.
But in that scenario, when that happened, many people were indeed buying into this whole concept, because let's be honest, if you can call George Bush stupid, great, a lie. He lied convincingly. And this is why when people said, when Colin Powell died, they call him a great American patriot and a good Republican. That man was trash. I'm not sorry that Colin Powell's gone. That man was a stinking warmonger. He was one of the worst. He was a smooth talking snake. There's nothing I miss about Colin Powell, like, at all.
And he flip-flops. You don't know where he's coming from.
I cannot tell you everything that we know, but what I can share with you, when combined with what all of us have learned over the years, is deeply troubling. What you will see is an accumulation of facts and disturbing patterns of behavior. The facts in Iraq's behavior demonstrate that Saddam Hussein and his regime have made no effort to disarm as required by the international community. Indeed, the facts and Iraq's behavior show that Saddam Hussein and his regime are concealing their efforts to produce more weapons of mass destruction. None of this should come as a surprise to any of us. Terrorism has been a tool used by Saddam for decades. Saddam was a supporter of terrorism long before these terrorist networks had a name. And this support continues. The nexus of poisons and terror is new. The nexus of Iraq and terror is old. The combination is lethal.
So I want to take a pause and what he's
How
saying.
long is it?
It's like 6 minutes, but I just wanted to say think about what he's saying right now and how they're equating Iran with the exact same language. The exact same language. The nexus of terrorism. The sponsor of terrorism. The person responsible for all the terror in the world. Right? Look, I'm not saying that Iran is not responsible for some heinous shit. Right? They are. But does that mean the U.S. needs to get involved? No. Absolutely not. And we've already done this.
And you remember when these wars kicked off and they were like, and they kept talking about the intel community. The intel community said this. And then if you talk bad about the intel community, they shamed you for talking bad about our intel community. And then they turn around and say, well, there wasn't really no weapons of mass destruction. But I thought we had to believe the intel community. I thought the intel community is so smart and they work so hard. And they said that they know for a fact there's weapons of mass destruction there.
Yeah, that's what
you know what I mean? So people got to understand, when you're listening to these war hawks out here talking about the intel community. No, the intel community didn't tell them anything. They were making that stuff up. The intel community is telling them exactly what they want to hear.
Yeah.
Understand that. And this guy's a freaking war hawk too, no matter how many medals he had on his chest.
Yeah.
With this track record, Iraqi denials of supporting terrorism take their place alongside the other Iraqi denials of weapons of mass destruction. It is all a web of lies. When we confront a regime that harbors ambitions for regional domination, hides weapons of mass destruction, and provides haven and active support for terrorists, we are not confronting
What did
the
I say?
past.
Pause.
We are confronting the present.
What did I say?
What groups is he specifically talking about? I know people are going to bring up Mujahideen and all that stuff. What groups was Iraq?
He's Al Qaeda,
Mm-hmm.
right? Taliban.
No, so here's my question. When they took out Saddam, what happened to that region?
Whatever happens when you take out a strong dictator, it
Okay.
collapses.
So why would it collapse if he was funding and helping a bunch of these groups?
Everybody wants control. That's what happens.
No, but
Every
I'm saying, here's what I'm saying. The same way that you won't see, and this is what I won't see happening, because we know for a fact that Iran and Hamas have ties, because that one is a kind of an obvious one.
Yeah.
What was not obvious to us was Iraq and other people, because from
Mhm.
what we were told by not just the Iraqi news, but other people over there, that the Iraqi people were quite content with Saddam.
Yeah.
So my
I know that
question,
for a fact.
yeah. So my question here is this: if there were groups that Iraq was funding and supporting and helping when Saddam was first attacked, how come there was no further attack on Americans? Because everybody knew America went after them after that happened. Name one attack coming from the groups they said he supported on Americans. Anyone can name one?
In America, right?
In America, name one. Because remember, we went over there. The whole idea was what? 9/11, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Since 9/11, name one that the groups that he supported, backed up, ever came back at America. Name one time.
There's
It
none.
hasn't.
There
I
hasn't
don't-
been one.
No.
Hasn't been one.
I
Not a
haven't
single
It's
one.
like the TSA has not stopped any terrorist plot
So,
ever.
so
No.
I'm
In
saying,
its entire
I'm saying that to say this. I don't believe he was funding anybody.
Yeah.
I don't believe Saddam was funding a single soul. I think this. I think Saddam, just like Gaddafi,
Mm-hmm.
was trying to do something that would eventually cut America out of their plans.
Yeah.
We couldn't have that. We could not have some rogue agent trying to get his people to do what his people wanted. Nah, you either get on board or we get rid of you.
That's right. I believe
I mean,
that too.
you got to think of it like this. Like, do you think it's really that hard for the intel agencies to do something like that, to overthrow governments? They weren't afraid to kill our own U.S. president. What makes you think they wouldn't go after you?
There you
That's
go.
right. And I was there. I was in Iraq in 2003, if I remember. I know it was 2003.
Mhm.
Yeah, 2003 when Saddam Hussein got captured. I was there. Not there where they captured him, but we were out
were
at
in
another
country.
base,
Yeah.
and it came over the radio that they captured Saddam Hussein. Half the group that we were training was cheering, the other half was really upset. But if you and I've been there 3 times. So then whenever you talk to the people, they said we didn't have all these car bombs and suicide vests and people dying before while Saddam was in power. This happened when America took over. So why did it get more violent in that country with them killing each other?
Mm-hmm.
Why did it get more violent when we showed up? If the fight was against us, you know?
Yeah. Because that's what happens. I mean, that's the same thing that's going to happen in Iran. Like, let's say they get their wet dream and we go into Iran, and we somehow, luckily, don't get involved with Russia and China at the same time, which it's doubtful at this point. I think if the U.S. gets involved, it is
will
gloves
happen.
off. Everybody's done.
Yeah.
Right? We're all in it. It's all in at this point. Chips are on the table. Right? So best case scenario is the revolutionaries in Iran, which have been happening organically over the last few years, actually rise up and they institute a democratic republic of some sort. Okay, fine. That's best case scenario. Worst case scenario, we have another ISIS situation. We have another Islamic State just pop up again.
There you go.
Again.
And I think that's the plan, though. I think I honestly believe this is what I think is the plan. The same way we did during the the Gulf War, Afghanistan, when we went to Afghanistan, Iraqi, all of it. What we end up leaving was splinter cells all over the place, right? The
Mm-hmm.
vacuum, the whole vacuum theory, right?
Yep.
I believe that their plan is to make sure that when they do go to war with Iran and Hamas and any other group over there, you're going to see one major group show up that will take over the rest of that region. And the
Mm-hmm.
plan here for them, I think, will be to come up against Israel
Yeah.
and to cause everybody to say, okay, well, now we have a one foe. Now we can get behind signing all kinds of peace deals and blah, blah, blah is going to take place. Now, I might be wrong, but having watched the track record of the American government and the war hawks and all of these people, I can say without equivocation that there is not a plan for peace in their minds.
No,
There's no peace, man.
Not
There's
one.
only
absolutely not.
peace was never an option to begin with either party. Like that's
Not
what
one.
people don't understand. They keep asking for a ceasefire, right? I think we're done with Colin Powell.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. And it's all about, it goes a lot deeper, like we always say on this show. It goes a lot deeper than what they're showing us. This is all about regime change, too.
Mm-hmm.
They got to get to
Man.
Iran because they want that guy out of there. They got to get the China regime. They want to put their people in there so they can do what the powers, whoever they are.
Utter Turkey pipeline. That's what it's always been about. Has been the gas monopoly they've been trying to get rid of Russia for. That's
Okay.
all of this.
So
is
they're trying to put their people in there so they can do the bidding for the powers to be.
Right.
This is what it's always about. They did it with Libya. They did it with Iraq. They did it with Afghanistan. They did it in Kosovo. They want people that are going to listen to them and do their bidding. And it's all about resources. So if we can get the right person in there, we can take control of the oil. We can take control of the resources. It's all this, man. People have to understand it. It's not about the hearts and minds of the people. They can care less about those people.
They don't care. Like
They
dude,
care
like,
less.
They make money bombing the hell out of a place, and they'll make money reconstructing it afterwards. That's how it's always been, man. Like look at the amount of money that's going to be dumped into Ukraine after the war's over, whenever that might be. Like it doesn't matter if Ukraine loses or not; they're still getting money for the reconstruction. That place has been leveled. Same thing is going to happen in Gaza. It's like, well, we bombed the place. It's like, well, now we got to build it back up. Guess who's getting all the contracts?
Right here in America.
Yeah.
Dynacor and all this. We're going to give them the contracts.
Who's getting the good lobbying job after their term ends?
Well,
and all of them getting money.
You don't have to look further than Cheney.
Yeah.
You don't got to look further than Dick Cheney. That's how far back we can go back and trace. As soon as you leave a high-ranking office, you have all the inside scoops anyway. You got all the contacts. Why not go into weapons and ammunition and munitions? You go into it. He's made his fortune after he left here by selling to the American government, manufacturing for the American government, bartering with other countries. Understand this. Dick Cheney has, I would consider, immunity for the kinds of crap that he's doing right now.
It's like a criminal that should be charged. That guy
by the book, by the letter, he should not have his hand in
the face. Should have been enough.
He shouldn't be he shouldn't have his hands in weapons selling, controlling, selling to other countries, and that people have gone to jail. Didn't they just release a dude from prison that was selling munitions to terrorist organizations?
Yeah, you mean the guy that the Biden administration traded
for the basketball
Russia,
man?
The arms dealer that happened to go into Russia a couple of years before this attack was perpetrated by Hamas. No big deal. The arms dealer and the guy that could probably get terrorist organizations armed and equipped for a massive attack happened.
But he's also the one I think they're going to implement in this whole thing that they're doing with Africa. Yeah. Okay, now remember, Russia was making deals with the Africans and all that stuff. He'll end up coming back and doing what he was doing before, even though they said there's a rift between them. I don't believe that for a minute.
No.
Secondly, we have right now in power, meaning Biden and the rest of them. If you watch the lobbyists that they talk to, for all the hate that they hate the NRA, the only reason they hate the NRA is because the NRA is supplying locals with ammunition. They have no problem supplying other people as long as they're getting them. As long as they are the NRA, they're fine with it. But the NRA supplying you, that's a problem. And you got to worry about killing innocent children. However, when you pay people like Iran and they go and fund people like Hamas and they kill innocent people, point the finger at the one who supplied the guns all of a sudden. All of a sudden, it's the people using the guns problem.
Hey, here's a dark joke for you. What's the difference between a drone and a rifle?
You can blame the drone.
No, it still results in a room full of dead kids. Either
There
way,
you go.
it doesn't
Yep.
matter. It's like these people the only people you cannot trust with weapons is the government. Period.
Period.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Because they will. There is not a time in the world where a government has had weapons and not wanted to use them
On
That's
their
right.
people. On their people.
on them on anybody. It didn't matter who it was, as long as they can use it. I gotta justify spending all this money on weapons. If we're not using them, it's a waste of money. If we're not
I
selling them,
agree.
it's a waste of money.
So do you believe that this thing that's going on right now, and I know, look, I understand people, this is a front. It's always, and if you look at it, they had the same issue going on during Obama's time with Hamas and Israel. You can go back and look. I think it was in his first term. There
Mhm.
was this big war that was at this big fight that was going on. It was publicized just like this. What's going to happen? Oh my gosh, they're trying to attack. We got to stand with it. It happened already during the
Yeah.
first, I believe it was his first term in office. This is
Yeah, they
just
tried
a
to do.
regurgitation of the same old, same old. We had a break from it because nobody would pull that trigger when Trump was in power. Look, say what you want. The man was unstable. Say what you want about Trump, but he was very unstable when it came to certain things. This in particular. If you
You know
cross
what?
America, I'm gonna whoop you and whoop you to the point that you can't even be recognized. They can't take that chance with somebody that vocal about it, and you
Mm-mm.
don't have a clue whether or not he's serious. But he was serious, and they knew it. With Biden, he has a history of giving them cash. Why would he say, y'all better stop? Do you think they're going to listen to him? They're not
No.
going to listen to him. They're going to be like, okay. And then in the back room, it's like, man, that was really good. You had them believing that we were against each other, huh? Now, where's my money?
Hey, there's a headline I want you to bring up because it's really important to forget this. You're gonna have an effing war, Mark Milley's fight to stop Trump from striking Iran. Who remembers this little headline from years
Mm-hmm.
ago?
Well, Mark Milley's a trash anyway.
No, he's a traitor, is what he is.
Yeah, he is a trashy traitor, and he needs to be tar and feathered with the
So
rest of them.
He's a female.
this dude is the one that they were okay. So this is the thing. It's like they were saying they were trying to stop Trump from getting in a war with Iran when they were the ones trying to perpetrate it. And he had documents showing that. Remember that tape where he's saying, "I had the papers. I could have declassified this."
Mm-hmm.
Right? He was talking about the plan that Milley and the other people in the deep state were trying to implement to get in a war with Iran 2 years ago. And he didn't play ball with them. And so they just said, okay, fine, we're going to ruin you. And then when Biden came in, now we get everything that we've always wanted because he's a puppet. He's always been a puppet.
Everything is a rich man's trick. We're always going to say that on this show.
So, like,
Guys got to pay attention.
people think that this is just something that's happening now. It's like, no, it's an opportune moment for taking on Iran because this is what they've always wanted. This has been the plan from the beginning. This has always been the plan.
Mm-hmm.
So now we are left with all of these warmongers on both sides. You cannot believe either one of them. All the media outlets are blaming Iran. Every single one of them are blaming Iran. We're not talking about Hamas anymore. We don't care about Hamas. Hamas did their thing. That's all we needed them to do. They were useful idiots. So Israel's going to wipe them out. That's fine, but that's not who we really need to go after. We got to go after Iran because they're the real target. They're the real target.
Right. Do you guys remember a certain individual by the name of Chuck Schumer? Said something. Yes, said something quite interesting. And just remember, I'm going to have you guys listen to this one so you can remember exactly what was said. Because, I don't want to misquote nobody, and they can't tell me that I'm lying on nobody because I don't want to lie on nobody. That's the last thing I want to do. The statement you're about to hear applies in more ways than you could think. And this is not just about Trump that he was talking, because this is true about anyone, and it happens to American citizens all the time. But this is very true about people who try to do something to interfere with the deep state's plan. Okay, so listen carefully.
This is the latest statement, latest tweet, as you were just saying, President-elect's latest unsolicited pronouncement on the intelligence community. This was his tweet just a little while ago tonight. You see the scare quotes there. The intelligence briefing on so-called Russian hacking was delayed until Friday. Perhaps more time needed to build a case. Very strange. We're actually told, intelligence sources tell NBC News since this tweet has been posted, that actually this intelligence briefing for the president-elect was always planned for Friday. It hasn't been delayed. But he's taking these shots, this antagonism, this taunting to the intelligence community.
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. So even for a practical, supposedly hard-nosed businessman, he's being really dumb to do this.
Really dumb.
Really dumb.
And that guy's been in long enough to know that's true.
Oh, yeah, he knows.
He knows it's true.
I mean, they're doing it right in front of our face, and people don't see it. They don't listen to it. He's telling you right in front of your face, we have ways to get anybody we want. If we can get a former president of the United States, we can get some little peon living in East Texas somewhere in a little town. We can get you too, easily, and it'd be even easier with you.
It didn't sound like a threat. That was a threat.
That was a threat.
Okay, watch what Maddow said. Mad Cow. She said he is antagonizing the FBI. Let me ask a simple question. How does one antagonize an intelligence organization? Well, better yet, let me put it this way. You are a group that is supposed to be okay with scrutiny. Scrutiny should be part of your entire wheelhouse, because that's what you do to get the information you got, by scrutiny. So when people are scrutinizing what you're doing and your methods, you should welcome it, because you can be functioning above board. But if you're telling me that you're concerned that a president is antagonizing you, in what way is he antagonizing you? So if he calls you a liar, what's your best method of operation? Prove the truth. It's not antagonizing. That's encouraging you to put forward what information you have. But if you're going to use the word antagonizing and goading, you are also, by that admission, saying that your wheelhouse is retribution.
Yep.
Does anybody know if that's part of the FBI loadout? Is retribution?
It's always been that way since it's founded.
Well, but I mean, is that in their mantra to deal retribution?
I'm sure it is. I mean, maybe there's like a secret pamphlet from like Hoover administration, like, you know,
like sticky note somewhere.
Yeah, there's like, hey, don't let anybody talk trash. All right, and then we all agreed and shook hands.
Yeah, take him out.
The thing about this whole thing is that the president is their literal boss, and if they're treating the president like some peon, that should concern you. That should concern everybody. Anyway,
but it doesn't.
It doesn't. So the Pentagon is rushing Marine Corps general and a few others to the Middle East. So they've already have a Marine Expeditionary Unit, which I've been a part of before. It's an amphibious landing assault team, is what it is. So it's a Marine contingent, about 2,000, about a battalion of Marines that are ready and trained to do amphibious landings and assaults. So tip of the spear, leading the charge, invasion of something.
Yeah. Can't hear you.
Sorry.
Oh.
Didn't he say we're not doing that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
I thought that's what he had said. We're not going to put boots on the ground over anywhere. He's not.
They're not even trying to hide it anymore.
Well, maybe I'm mistaken, but I thought that's what he said, didn't it?
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
Yeah. Well, we're not going to put boots on the ground in Ukraine, but Israel's a different story.
Everywhere else is fine.
Yeah. Anything in the Middle East, of course, we're going to put boots on the ground over there.
Looking like
I think it's funny that the U.S. is like, okay, hold on. Maybe we need to have a little diplomacy when it comes to Russia, but Arabs, nah, man, we'll punch them in the face every day. That's the kind of mentality that they got, man. They're like, nah.
And again, Russia and Ukraine have nothing really to offer.
Yeah.
If you look at the Middle East, there's a lot of resources between the Middle East, Africa, all that stuff. There are so many resources, and they understand that this has nothing to do with anything but money.
Yeah.
Money and power. That's it. And I wish more service members would start waking up to this crap and be like, I ain't doing it. Conscientious objector right here.
So the Ukraine has grains and natural gas and a giant pipeline that goes from Ukraine to Europe. That's what that's about. It's the same thing as it's always been. It's always about pipelines, right?
Well,
It's always about the gas.
I'm confused. I really am, and I'll tell you why I'm confused, people. Well, I guess I'm confused, but I'm also not confused. We have oil and natural gas here.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay, good.
Lots of it.
We were planning to build a pipeline across America, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. It would have facilitated America's self-sufficiency for
Mhm.
oil, gas, resources like that.
Mm-hmm.
It got shut down by wet potato dude.
Yep. Yep.
He goes over and destroys the very next option we have and cuts off the Nord one.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then he wants to try and create a pipeline in the Middle East where there's always a war over said oil, in the middle of people that don't like us, but we want to negotiate with, but want us dead. So we send money to them to get access to a spot to get oil. They charge us triple so that we can pay, the people can pay more for gas. eh, But at the same time, we in publicly we dog the people who are over there charging us for the oil. So what that tells me is two things. We don't really care about low gas prices, the American government right now.
Mm.
And your reason you're doing the things over there is because it's funneling the same money that you get in our taxes. You send over there to the people. The people will charge you a certain amount for the oil, but the amount is not actually what you're paying for oil. That's a kickback for giving them the business to pay to get us oil.
Mm-hmm.
Does make sense? So all I'm doing is I'm removing the option for Americans to make money off of oil and giving it to the Middle East while I get a kick. You want to know how they go in and come back out rich? This is how you do it. And so you give me a kickback off of the money I give you. It's laundering. And so you can have all the access to the oil and we'll have to depend on you. We don't need it because we don't want American dependent on it because then we won't have anything in our pockets because we all go back in Americans'
Well, it's because
pockets.
we're so green, right? You know, we have to have all this green initiative stuff, and so like we can't have any carbon emissions, so we just export all of our carbon emissions to other countries.
Mm-hmm.
What you're doing. So like if President Mac was a thing, that would be the first thing I would do is like tell Saudi Arabia either do do nice things or I will ruin all of your economy. Because I will make oil so dirt cheap that it will be worthless to anybody else. I will pump so much out of the ground that it will ruin Russia and you at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, that's one way. Me personally, I wouldn't even talk to him at all. The bat phone to be cut off. That America hotline cut. You block. Beep. Don't talk to none of them. Any country
that's
that
yeah,
we're in conflict, we want nothing to do with you. We won't talk to you. We'll treat you like that ex-girlfriend that gets on your nerves. We'll never talk to you again. We'll cut you off from our life, and we're going to keep it moving. We'll defend our borders, and we won't even associate with any of those countries. We'll drill in our own country, get our own oil, get our own resources, and take care of our own people. But what Marlon was back to Marlon's point about, the oil and also our gas reserves being sold, and Coy's point about this is all part of the Green New Deal. So, it goes a lot deeper than what we think. This is all to get the Green New Deal, and it's all about money.
Yep,
it
is.
I'm going to name some names here, okay? I decided just for craps and giggles to look at the Foreign Affairs Committee and to see the names that are on there, okay? I'll give you a couple of names from the Democrat side. Gerald Connolly, Ted Lieu, Joaquin Castro. Any of those names ring a bell? Andy Kim. Let me see another one here. Where is it? I just saw it. Jim Costa, Jason Crow, and Brad Schneider. On the Republican side, that's not the full list of Democrats, by the way, but I'm giving you names specifically for a reason in a minute. Hang on. Brian Mast, Okay, ready for this? Tim Burchard, Mark Green, Andy Burr. Where's it? What does other guy there? Oh, French Hill, um, Mike Waltz, and where is a newer Keith Self. What do those names mean? I'll tell you what they mean. Those are all people who have voted for a very specific thing on foreign affairs, and that's giving of American tax dollars to overseas entities. Now, I would have never thought that Brian Mass would have been one of those people, but he actually is. I don't know if he's a full on rhino, but I think he might be well on his way to becoming one um, because of payouts. The biggest issue here is that while you have these people in power on the Foreign Affairs Committee, and they call it, um, what's that a term they like to use when both sides of the aisle agree?
Bipartisan.
Bipartisan.
Yeah, bipartisan.
I think it's spelt wrong.
Yeah.
I think it's BUY / partisan. If you can buy part of what I want, I'll buy part of what you want, and we all make money together. We will not be able to get to the bottom of this with just the president. We won't get to the bottom of this with just the concept of going into bilateral and joint agreements and all that nonsense. We have to clean house and start afresh with people who have never been in red tape.
That's right.
I don't mean lack of experience. I mean lack of red tape.
Yep.
It's the only way it's going to get solved, but I don't think that will ever happen. So I don't think it'll ever get solved.
You know, our only saving grace right now is the fact that we don't have a speaker in Congress right now.
We do now. We do now.
Oh, did they actually vote for somebody?
They voted. Yep, they voted in.
He's a rhino.
Oh,
it's not him.
Finally got it.
The guy that got it's not a rhino.
It's not the rhino that they wanted. Oh, okay.
The guy that got in is what's his name?
Hakeem Jeffers.
Well,
no,
our only saving grace before
Mike Johnson. Mike Johnson got in.
Okay. Yeah, so
Mike
the
Johnson.
only saving grace we did have is that we didn't have a speaker. Now that we have a speaker, you can expect war within the next couple of weeks.
Now,
Yes.
here's a test. If that's the first thing he goes to, it'll tell me everything I will ever need to know about people, even people like Gates. They talk a big game and they lie. But if he gets in there and the first thing he goes into is a full-on assault on Biden, I'll stave off my anger for the way things go.
He won't. He was put in there by the establishment, man.
We'll see. We'll see.
They'll put on
We'll
a good
see.
show. You know, political theater. They'll put on a good show.
I'm just going based on what he does first. It'll always tell you what they do first. It'll always tell you exactly where they're going to go.
Very true.
I just can't imagine that we're gonna sleepwalk our way into World War III. Like we're gonna weaken in Bernie's Biden.
Ain't no we. Who's we?
I'm pregnant.
Okay, sorry. Not I meant the royal we.
Yeah, them. They want to go into war with Iran. We, the people, don't want it. So that's the we. Then you got them. They're not part of we.
I know I had this. I wanted to bring it up because, like, this is what Putin was saying. This is like last week. It wasn't really played all around, and his thoughts of what's going on. But he's concerned too.
Didn't he have a heart attack or something?
No,
he's fine. Here they are dragging 2 aircraft carriers into the Mediterranean Sea, and it's not a threat. What I'm going to say now, but on my instructions, the Russian Air Force is beginning a permanent patrol mission.
Воздушные силы, военно-космические силы России начинают на постоянной основе патрулирование
in the neutral zone of the
в нейтральной зоне
Black Sea.
Воздушного пространства над Черным морем. И наши
And our
самолеты
MiG-31
МиГ-31
aircraft are
вооружены
armed with
комплексами
Exalt.
«Кинжал». Они, как известно,
They are known to have a
имеют
range of
дальность
1,000 kilometers at
свыше 1000
Mach 9.
километров со скоростью 9 махов.
And that's what he was saying, right? It's like, it's not a threat, but
I'm not saying I wouldn't, but I'm not saying I won't.
yeah, it's like I'm not threatening you, but I am making a promise that my jets can do things at 1,000 miles, 1,000 kilometers. Sorry. Could use
Yeah.
the European way of saying it.
Look, I think the reason they hate Putin is because he's just like Trump, bro.
Yep.
He'll tell you what he's going to do, and he's not lying about it. It's what I'm going to do.
Well, that's why I think he also believed Trump when he said, "I won't. If you do something to us, I'm not going to nuke like Russia. I'm going to nuke you. I'm
You.
gonna nuke you." That's what he said to Xi Jinping too. He's like, "You do something, I will find you. I'm not
You.
gonna like just do China. I'm going to find you and make sure you die. I'm not taking
When I,
you."
when I told you that man's not very stable, that's what I mean. Okay, it's like I think people hate him because he's like a father kind of setup.
Yeah.
This is how dads operate, and I have there are 3 dads on the screen, and y'all 2 can tell me if I'm wrong. Okay, tell me if I'm wrong. A father does not unilaterally punish everybody.
Mhm.
Moms do that because they don't want to isolate the problem and pinpoint one person.
Mm-hmm.
A dad will systematically find ways to find out who the real culprit is and make an example of you. And when the example has been made of you, you know what the rest of them see? I ain't gonna be doing that. I can't even get away with it. I can't blame my family on it. It's gonna be me. I'm good. I'm out.
Yeah. It's like
That is true.
That's how he operated. I'll find exactly who's responsible for this. I'm gonna make you specifically pay, and the kind of way I'm gonna make you pay, ain't nobody else gonna take that chance ever again. And they're like, I'm not rushing to do anything stupid, but this other guy's in. I can go ahead and do what I gotta do. Even look, Trump said this too. Putin wasn't gonna do anything as long as he was in power, and it wasn't because Putin was on his side. I'm going to say this with, and people can say whatever they want after this. Putin was and still is afraid of what Donald Trump could do, not would, could do. And he has been in the KGB, right? He's been in it. He was top ranking. So don't tell me that fear is in his wheelhouse. But if you encounter somebody more unstable than you, you will know. You gonna know and be like,
no right away.
See, you ever see that person that you wouldn't mess with? You ever just meet somebody you're just like, man, I'm not gonna cross this person at all. I'm not gonna mess with this guy. That's Trump. And this is why Trump never went to war. They kept saying he's gonna go to war with the fear mongering, but Trump had a standard. He put out that standard and he let them know, like Marlon said, straight up. If you do something to us, we are going to do it to you. And they knew he meant business.
Yeah. Like, look at what they did with Soleimani. Is like he was in Iraq and he was like,
bye.
He died like a dog.
Yeah, it's like he shouldn't have been there, man. Like you were in Iraq. What were you doing there, man? What were you doing in Iraq? You were on our turf, man.
He died like a dog.
He died
bye.
like a dog. Crying and screaming the whole way.
That was gangster.
Yeah, so like that's see, this is what goes to my point. What I want to make next is that like Putin knew how to handle American politicians. He didn't know how to handle Trump. That was the difference. I know how to handle Biden. I know how to handle Obama. They're all the same. They're all come from the same cloth, the same establishment. Trump wasn't from there. So he had no idea what he was capable of. And that was what kept him in caution, because it's like, if this dude is as unhinged as the media says he is, and I can look at him and I know he isn't joking, I don't know what he's going to do if I do X. And that makes the plans go awry. I cannot plan for something I don't know what he's going to react to. And he didn't know what it was. I can plan for regular politicians because I know exactly what they're going to do.
I can pay them.
I can pay them. I can do other things. I don't know what I can do with Trump. And that was the problem.
So what you going to pay a billionaire? A guy who's already rich as hell. What are you going to do? What are you going to offer
me?
What are you going to offer him?
So like I said, it's like the whole thing is like Trump just was the reason why we were safe for at least 4 years and we had no more war. Now we're the thing that they were accusing Donald Trump of doing is the thing that they're trying to force us into. And I don't think we have a choice at this point. Like World War III is inevitable. Like within the next month or two, we are going to see a major conflict in the Middle East. They have already put all the chips on the table. They've already put the assets in there. Same thing I said about Russia and Ukraine. There's no reason they're putting that many people on the border if they're not going to invade.
Right.
It's the same thing that happened then. It's the same thing I see now. The U.S. is not going to put that many assets in the Middle East and not use them. Same thing with everything that the government does with weapons. If they have weapons, they're gonna use it. They have their weapons in the Middle East. They're gonna use it.
Yeah, it's going to be a trigger, and like Coy said, in about close to winter time into fall, there's going to be a trigger, and I think it's going to come from the inside, come from us, and they're going to trigger it because we've said before, and Marlon said it earlier, in order for any conflict in America or around the world to be successful, you have to have the backing of the people. They have to find a way to get the majority of Americans behind it, because right now, I think personally that the majority of Americans aren't behind this. Yeah, that small, loud percentage that they show at these protests. But I think the majority of us don't want nothing to do with this, but they're going to do something. They're going to be like, well, the American people aren't behind it. How can we get them behind it? How can we get that support?
I'll tell you this. I don't think it will be a foreign attack. This is what I'm thinking. Okay.
Yeah,
It's already happening now. Look, here's why I say so. There has already been a test, and that test was in two phases. George Floyd and the whole Kenosha business, right? And now with the Palestinian regimes, people protesting, going into the Capitol, and only a few of them getting arrested. It has been a test already. It's a soft test. It's a very soft test to see what they can and cannot get away with, not by action, but by excuse. Because what they're going to pin this under is by freedom of speech thing, because we know how that works already with them. And what will eventually happen, they won't need a military, which is why they have the border open. Let's just be honest. They have the border open so that in the future, when things kick off, they won't need the military to intervene. They won't need to call up the military. They won't need to say, we set the military on anybody, so they can't be accused of what you call a war crime. They're just going to leave the vacuum, just like they do in the Middle East. They've created a vacuum right now in the American soil. And all we have to do is wait for the keg to blow up. And they're just going to let the people that protest do what they got to do.
That's right.
See, that's the thing. It's like we're sitting on the precipice of World War III with Russia and China. We have an open border where multiple people from multiple nationalities have come through. We're talking a bunch of Syrians, a bunch of Iranians, a bunch of Chinese, Russians, Ukrainians, a bunch of different people, not from South America. We're talking about all over the world that have come here, slipped through, that were never caught, weren't processed, weren't anything. They're just here. And now you have an entire group of people that are praising the actions of Hamas and terroristic actions that resulted in the death of civilians and praising them for it because they're freedom fighters. Remember, they're not terrorists, they're freedom fighters. Do you think it comes to the United States? Absolutely, it comes to the United States. It's going to be bad.
And we've talked about this before, like I think last year or early in the year where we talked about the border. And I said, I think, and I posted it too somewhere. I said, I think that a lot of these military-aged men coming across the border are actually UN soldiers disguising as immigrants. They have phones, they have all this stuff, and I think they're just trickling them in. They're bringing them in little by little, disguised as immigrants, and they're setting them up in major cities. It's going to be hard to do the whole United States. They have to hit major metropolitan cities. Once you hit those major cities, it's like a dang beehive. It'll cause chaos everywhere. Once they cause chaos, they need what? They need order. In order to bring order, they're going to be like, we need to get the UN or we need to do that. Bring the UN in. The UN comes in and they get what they want.
You need that. You just have the Patriot Act, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
I've been warning people about the Patriot Act for forever.
Yeah, it's all part of the plan. You can't trust George Bush and anything with his name on it.
I hope I'm wrong. I don't want to pay the price for being right. That's my thing. Like this,
it's unavoidable at this point, Coy.
Yeah, it is. Like I see it. I see where it's going. It was the same thing when I saw Russia on the borders of Ukraine. They're like I said, they're not going to put all that there if they're not going to use it. You don't send 2,000 Marines in a amphibious assault position if you're not going to send them in. Period. Like you're not going to waste that money because that costs. You have no idea how much money that costs to send that many people overseas. And the largest aircraft carrier in the world is sitting in the Mediterranean right now.
Just
In the
chill.
world, the biggest, right? You're not going to waste that much money just to let it sit there.
It's just sitting there.
That's very true.
But hey, only time will really tell. But I think we'll end up being right, unfortunately. Whichever direction the clone goes. The people were asking about Lee. Lee had to work, and I think I said this Monday he wouldn't be here Monday and today, but he will be back on Friday thus far, unless something else happens. But in the meantime, in between time, we'll see what the new speaker does, if anything. And
First thing that goes on the table. I said the use of authorization for force is going to be the first thing that goes on the table.
yeah, more likely. We'll see. But it'll be interesting. It'll be very, very interesting. They said he got unanimous support, so.
Yeah, and one thing to the people out here, don't buy the propaganda. I know a lot of you guys do, and they pull on your heartstrings, and you see it all over social media. You know, I stand with this country, I stand with that country. No, stand with our country.
Yeah.
This is who we stand with. If you want to stand with those countries, go over there and fight with those countries. Stand with them real time.
Yeah.
Stop virtue signaling on social media. Don't buy into the propaganda because it's all propaganda.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yeah.
In any case, folks, we'll catch you guys on Friday. And then not this Saturday, but the following Saturday for our Rumble event. Anyway, so we we will catch you guys then. Meantime, in between time, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Spread the news information about, get our name out there, get our subscribership up. I don't think you're going to find another podcast like ours anywhere else. If you do, I need to know so I can pay you, because I don't think you'll find one. I think
we'll just report them.
I think we're better than all of them.
Yeah, we are.
And when we finally do get moving and we get our system intact, man, look out. We'll be crazy. So we'll catch you guys on Friday. In the meantime, y'all take care. Savage Patriot signing out. Peace.